The Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC, is a nation plagued by conflict, a land of immense natural beauty overshadowed by decades of turmoil. For decades, its eastern provinces have been ravaged by violence, leaving a trail of destruction and despair. Various rebel groups vying for power and control of resources have terrorized the population, creating an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. At the heart of this conflict is President Félix Tshisekedi, a man grappling with a heavy burden, striving to bring peace to his troubled nation. He is tasked with leading a nation teetering on the brink, a monumental challenge that requires unwavering resolve and determination. In a recent and emotionally charged interview, President Tshisekedi made a bold accusation, one that has reverberated across the globe. He pointed a finger at neighboring Rwanda, accusing them of fueling the flames of conflict, a claim that has intensified regional tensions. His voice shook with anger and frustration as he detailed Rwanda's alleged support for rebel groups operating within the DRC's borders, a serious allegation that cannot be ignored. These accusations sent shockwaves through the international community, raising tensions in an already volatile region and prompting calls for urgent action. The situation in the eastern DRC is dire, with countless lives disrupted by the ongoing violence. Millions have been displaced, forced to flee their homes in search of safety, leaving behind everything they know. The humanitarian crisis is deepening, with countless lives hanging in the balance, as aid organizations struggle to meet the overwhelming needs. President Tshisekedi's accusations, if true, paint a grim picture of a nation held hostage by external forces, a situation that demands immediate international attention and intervention. President Tshisekedi's accusations are not mere rhetoric. They are serious allegations that have far-reaching implications for regional stability. He claims to possess concrete evidence of Rwanda's involvement in the DRC's internal conflict, which he says is meticulously documented. He points to intelligence reports, eyewitness accounts, and captured weapons as proof of Rwanda's support for rebel groups. These pieces of evidence, he argues, are undeniable. This support, he alleges, takes many forms, from financial backing and arms supplies to logistical support and military training. The network of support is extensive and well coordinated. One of the most significant accusations leveled by President Tshisekedi is Rwanda's alleged support for the M23 rebel group, which has been a major destabilizing force in the region. The M23, composed primarily of ethnic Tutsis, has been one of the most formidable armed groups operating in eastern DRC. Their influence and reach have grown significantly over the years. They have been accused of horrific human rights abuses, including massacres, rape, and the recruitment of child soldiers. These atrocities have left deep scars on the local population. President Tshisekedi claims that Rwanda is providing the M23 with sophisticated weaponry, funding, and safe haven within its borders. This alleged support has only emboldened the group. He believes that Rwanda is using the M23 as a proxy force to advance its own interests in the region, particularly in the mineral-rich eastern DRC. This, he argues, is a strategic move to control valuable resources. Rwanda has vehemently denied all accusations. They claim that they are not involved in the DRC's internal conflict and that they are committed to regional peace and stability. Rwanda accuses President Tshisekedi of using these accusations as a smokescreen, deflecting attention from his own government's failures to address the root causes of the conflict. Rwanda argues that the conflict in the eastern DRC is a result of internal issues within the DRC, including weak governance, corruption, and ethnic tensions. They accuse President Tshisekedi of failing to provide security and basic services to the people of eastern DRC, creating a breeding ground for rebel groups. Despite Rwanda's denials, international pressure is mounting. Several countries and international organizations have expressed deep concern over the allegations and called for an independent investigation. The United Nations, the African Union, and various Western governments are urging both sides to engage in dialogue and find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The current tensions between the DRC and Rwanda are deeply rooted in history, with a complex web of events and interactions shaping their relationship over the decades. The two countries share a long and troubled past, marked by violence, mistrust, and accusations of interference in each other's internal affairs. This history of conflict has left deep scars on both nations and their people. This shared history is crucial to understanding the complexities of the current situation. Without acknowledging the past, it is difficult to grasp the full extent of the present-day issues. The Rwandan genocide of 1994, in which an estimated 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus were killed, is a tragic turning point in the relationship between the two countries. The aftermath of this horrific event continues to influence their interactions. Following the genocide, millions of Rwandans, including those responsible for the atrocities, fled across the border into the DRC, then known as Zaire. This mass exodus created a humanitarian crisis and further strained relations. The presence of these refugees, including armed militias, destabilized eastern Zaire and contributed to the outbreak of the First Congo War in 1996. The conflict drew in multiple regional actors, complicating the situation further. Rwanda, under a new Tutsi-led government, intervened in Zaire, claiming to be pursuing genocidal forces. This intervention was seen as both a security measure and a strategic move. However, Rwanda's involvement in the conflict further fueled the violence and instability in the region. The repercussions of these actions are still felt today, as the cycle of conflict and mistrust continues. Section 5. The M23 Rebellion. The M23 Rebellion, which erupted in 2012, is a stark reminder of the unresolved issues plaguing the DRC and the region. The M23, accused of heinous crimes against civilians, rapidly gained ground in eastern DRC, capturing the strategic city of Goma before being pushed back by Congolese and UN forces. The M23 rebellion highlighted the fragility of peace in the region and the international community's struggle to contain the violence. Despite efforts to demobilize the M23 and integrate its fighters into the Congolese army, the group re-emerged in recent years, launching a new offensive that has displaced thousands and reignited tensions with Rwanda. The M23's resurgence and Rwanda's alleged support raise serious questions about the effectiveness of past peace agreements and the commitment of regional actors to lasting stability. The international community faces a daunting task in addressing the root causes of the conflict and preventing further bloodshed. Section 6. International Implications. The escalating tensions between the DRC and Rwanda have far-reaching implications. The conflict has the potential to destabilize the entire Great Lakes region, drawing in neighboring countries and exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis. The involvement of external actors, allegedly providing support to various armed groups, further complicates the situation. The flow of weapons and resources into the region fuels the conflict and hinders efforts to achieve a peaceful resolution. The international community must work together to cut off these supply lines and hold those responsible accountable. The conflict also has significant economic implications. The DRC is rich in natural resources, including minerals essential for modern technology. However, the ongoing violence and instability deter investment and hinder economic development, trapping the DRC in a cycle of poverty and conflict. Section 7. The need for peace. The people of the DRC, particularly those in the east, have endured unimaginable suffering for decades. Millions have been displaced, countless lives lost, and a generation scarred by violence. The need for peace is paramount. Achieving lasting peace in the DRC requires a multifaceted approach. It demands addressing the root causes of the conflict, including poverty, inequality, and weak governance. It also requires holding perpetrators of violence accountable, regardless of their affiliation, and ending the culture of impunity that has fueled the conflict for too long. Peace in the DRC also hinges on regional cooperation. Neighboring countries must refrain from interfering in the DRC's internal affairs, and instead work together to promote stability and development. The international community has a crucial role to play in supporting these efforts and ensuring that peace takes root. Section 8. The way forward. The path to peace in the DRC will be arduous and require sustained commitment from all stakeholders. Dialogue, both within the DRC and between the DRC and Rwanda, is essential. Open and honest communication is the foundation upon which trust can be rebuilt and solutions found. The African Union and other regional organizations must take a leading role in mediating the conflict and facilitating dialogue. They are best positioned to understand the complexities of the situation and build consensus among the involved parties. Accountability is non-negotiable. Those responsible for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and other atrocities must be held accountable for their actions. Justice is not only crucial for the victims, but also for breaking the cycle of violence that has plagued the region for far too long. Section 9. A call to action. The situation in the DRC is a stain on the conscience of humanity. The world cannot continue to turn a blind eye to the suffering of millions. The international community must act decisively and with unwavering resolve to bring peace to this troubled nation. Support for the Congolese people must go beyond words. Humanitarian aid is urgently needed to address the dire situation faced by millions of displaced people. Funding for education, healthcare, and economic development is crucial to breaking the cycle of poverty and conflict. The international community must also pressure all parties involved in the conflict to lay down their arms and engage in meaningful dialogue. Sanctions, arms embargoes, and other punitive measures should be considered against those who continue to fuel the violence.